You are listening to Frankly Speaking Panthers on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Frankly Speaking Panthers. I'm your host, Larry Frank, and what a great show we have for you tonight as I just finish up here, making sure we got all our networks online right now. There we go. We got the last one going on right now. Want to thank you all. What a great, exciting show for you. Boy, oh boy, the undefeated Carolina Panthers. Can you believe it? Undefeated Carolina Panthers. Get used to saying it, and let's hope this Sunday night at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon that we are saying that still. But what a great game we have coming up this week versus the Dallas Cowboys, who are 2-1. We're going to talk about that game. We're going to preview that game, and boy, do we have an unbelievable guest for you tonight. We're going to have Bill Jones, from a sports anchor from CBS Channel 11 in Dallas-Fort Worth, who is also the Dallas Cowboys play-by-play and studio host. So we got an unbelievable show for you, but it starts out with this big game coming up this Sunday between your Panthers and the Cowboys. And we're going to go ahead and give you a number right off the bat, folks. We want you to go ahead and interact. We want this show to be your show. If you want to call in, talk about the Panthers, what you like, what worries you about this upcoming game versus the Dallas Cowboys, please go ahead and do so. If somebody's on the line, just wait till they get off, then call in, as we only have so many phone lines here, so we would appreciate that. But, this is a game where this team, our Carolina Panthers, have just looked great. When you talk about a well-balanced offense and defensive team, you have one of the better teams in the National Football League. And, I'm listening today, and I listen to some sports talk, and no disrespect towards any of the individuals that do sports talk on the radio. I love what they do. I love what they say, but I kind of disagree with them this time. And I'm listening, and they talk about how we need to go in and we need to make a good showing. It's not as important if we win or lose. It's how well we play. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Carolina Panther fans, that's the most ludicrous bull crap that I've ever heard. Okay, what do you mean if you go in there and you play well and you lose, it's still a good showing? I'd rather go in, play bad, and win. Okay? I mean, we are going there to win. You don't go there to play good and lose. What you want out of this Sunday is a win. You want to go into Dallas and prove that number one defense in the NFL is no fluke towards one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL in Dak Prescott. And I'm going to tell you right now, this team is good enough to win. It is good enough to win. And it's about time the Carolina Panthers fan stop saying and making excuses and say, yes, we are good enough to win. Let's not find reasons to make excuses in case we lose. We're going to go into Dallas and we're going to win because of our defense and because of our well-balanced offense. And when you look at this game, I'm telling you right now, this is a game that is going to come down to the defense. Which defense holds out better? Everybody knows what the Dallas Cowboys bring to the table. They bring Dak Prescott in a running game that is now combined with Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott. They both run the ball well. They both have been averaging about 100 together, 160 yards a game the last two games. But hold on a minute, folks. Last time I checked, the best rushing defense in the NFL is, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. No, a little bit louder, please. That's right. The Carolina Panthers, who are only allowing 45 yards rushing per game. Is there any reason why we shouldn't think that we're going to go in there and we're going to hold Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard? There is no reason. We are a good enough defense. We are good enough up front to stop this running game. And I'll tell you what right now, when you look at this game on Sunday, the Panthers as an offense succeed 43% of the time on third down conversion. But the one big stat, they get the other offense off the field. The other team, the opponents, have only averaged 21% success on third down conversion versus your Carolina Panthers. Why? Because we're a damn good offense. Keep saying it, folks. This is a good offense. Now, the Cowboys have succeeded 53% of the times on third down, so that's going to be a great, great battle. The Panthers defense is only allowing 10 points a game. In the NFL, 10 points a game. And they have yet to trail any opponent. Listen to this, Carolina Panther fans. They have not trailed this whole season. That means from the time they led in that first game of the season versus the Jets, they have not trailed at all this year. Just an incredible feat by the Carolina Panthers. And we're about to break this game down, and boy, do I have some great information for you. Let's talk about this defense right now. And I'm going to pull up some notes here. Listen to this first. When you talk about the breakdown on this defense, Hassan Reddick, okay? What can you say about Hassan Reddick? He ranks third in the NFL with 4.5 sacks. He's recorded a sack in one of every 13.5 passing rushing snap. Then you got Brian Burns, who has 3 sacks, which ties for 8th in the NFL. Linebacker Shaq Thompson currently leads the team with 20 tackles, okay? Incredible. Dequan Jones has 8 hurries this year. And I want to give you a couple of little stats here, folks, about this great defense here in Carolina. Just incredible when you look at it. The Carolina defense, once again, leads the NFL in yards allowed, only 191 yards. Rushing yards allowed, 45 per game. Passing yards, only 146. Dak Prescott, we'll talk about in a minute, is going to have a difficult time. Okay? They have 14 sacks this year. We mentioned third down, and the 573 total yards allowed is the fewest by any 3-0 team. Now, you think that's unbelievable? You go, wow, our defense is really that good? Listen to this. You want to be shocked? The Panthers, the Carolina run defense has made initial contact with rushes 0.2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That's 0.2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So when we get to Saturday's game, what do you got to look at? You know what Dak Prescott does. This is a team right here that leads the league, the Carolina Panthers, with 14 sacks. 14 sacks on the year already. They're giving up only 146 passing yards. Dak Prescott, as you know, loves to pass, okay? This is going to come down to a game where if our our defense can contain their running game, this game is completely over. Dak Prescott will not be able to be one-dimensional against this defensive team of the Carolina Panthers. If you stop the running game and he goes into strictly passing, they're going to turn over the ball. The other thing is Sam Darnold. What does he have to do? And I did some keys to the game, folks. And for those of you joining us right now, we are probably about 15 minutes away from having Bill Jones from Sports Anchor from Channel 11 in Dallas, Fort Worth joining us. But let's go ahead and talk about the keys to the game for the Carolina Panthers, okay? The first thing the Panthers have to do in order to win this game is sustain long drives with execution of third down conversions, which is time of possession. When you start getting third down conversions like we've been doing 40% of the time, what you do is you keep your offense on the field. By keeping your offense on the field, ladies and gentlemen, what you do is you give your defense a blow. They have time to rest up. They have time to keep that energy. They have time to keep that adrenaline. When they get out on the field, they become like caged animals, ready to hit, ready to attack. And that's what happens with this great swarming defense. You got to give them time to refresh themselves on the sideline. And that's why you got to sustain these long drives. And let me explain something to you, folks. CHUBA Hubbard is a good running back. He had over 2,000 yards rushing in 2019 for Oklahoma State. Don't think CHUBA Hubbard is a no-name back who's going to do nothing. I think what they need to do in this game, and we'll get to CHUBA Hubbard in a minute, is they got to pressure Dak and contain Dallas's running game, okay? Once again, we have 14 sacks this year. They got to do is they got to put pressure on Zach, contain that running game. Now, you got the word sustain and you got the word contain. Let me explain what I mean by this, folks. Stopping the running game is only one part of stopping the running backs in Dallas. You also got to stop the quick passing game out of the backfield, which allows Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott to get extra yards. I don't think we're going to have an issue with that. You know, people talk about some of the teams we played, and I always tell you, we don't make the schedule. The schedule is given to us, and they play whoever's on the schedule. Well, listen, they played Philadelphia last game. Give credit to where credit is due. Dak had a hell of a game, but this is not the Philadelphia Eagles they're playing this Sunday. This is the first place 3-0 Carolina Panthers from Charlotte, North Carolina. And this defense will be able to contain that running game and force Dak to pass. When you start forcing a quarterback like Dak Prescott to pass and you take the balance out of the game and make him one-dimensional, that is when Dak makes his most mistakes. When he has pressure on him, probably like any quarterback, even a Tom Brady would do that. But when you put a lot of pressure on a guy like Dak Prescott, you force him to throw the ball when he doesn't want to throw the ball, and you force him to throw in the tight windows. And that's where this unbelievable defense of ours is going to go crazy and have an unbelievable game. I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas doesn't score more than 10 points in this game coming up this weekend. As we move down to some other keys, okay, for the Carolina Panthers, I put Tremble and Anderson. They have to get the tight end involved in the game. One of the things that the Dallas Cowboys do real well with their tight end, Schultz, he had an unbelievable game with 6 receptions over Monday night. He had 2 touchdown receptions. We have to be able to get as many weapons involved. Right now, it's been DJ Moore, and of course, Christian McCaffrey when Christian was healthy. Well, you got to get more than DJ Moore. You got to get Marshall involved. You got to get Tremble involved. get a couple of quick passes out of the backfield involved. And what that's going to do for Sam Darnold is that's going to open up the big play for Robbie Anderson for him to throw deep. And I wouldn't be surprised if Robbie Anderson has 2 touchdown receptions this weekend versus Dallas. Something about Robbie where he shows up for the big games, and he will show up, and Sam Darnold will show up as well. Sam Darnold, as you can see, folks, has not made a lot of mistakes this year, which is really, really good, and has helped this team immensely. But we talked about Christian McCaffrey being out. How do you fix that equation? You have CHUBA Hubbard and you have Royce Freeman. That equals Christian McCaffrey. And people go, what do you mean? I think you're going to see now, they're going to have to mix it up. You can't just throw to one back and hand off to the other. But you're going to see the brunt of the rushing going to CHUBA Hubbard. And CHUBA Hubbard showed you, or should have showed you last game, that he has the potential to get some big yardage in these football games. I think he had 11 touches, 52 yards last game. And then you got Royce Freeman. And the thing I like about Royce, when he played with Denver, a lot of people don't remember, but there was a year where he caught 40 or 50 balls out of the backfield. And he's a very, very good back out of the backfield receiving the football. And if they can go ahead and do a couple of screens to Royce Freeman out of the backfield, they're going to go ahead and get some big yardage there. Let's see. We got a Facebook user here. Let's see what he said. Good luck, Mr. Optimistis. You beating the Jets, Texans, and Saints on a short week and no McCaffery. Well, let me tell you, Mr. Facebook user, since I don't have your name, first of all, at the end of the season, when the playoffs come and a team makes the playoffs, I never, ever heard of somebody saying, who did you play this year to get here? Okay? The schedule is presented to you. The Carolina Panthers don't make up the schedule. It's their job to go out and win the football games that are presented in front of them. And that's what Carolina has done. How many times have you seen teams go into places where they're supposed to win? Look at the Packers versus the Saints week 1, and they don't win those games. Give credit where credit is due. It doesn't matter who you play. At the end of the day, it's whether it's a W or an L. It's kind of like in college. Notre Dame, okay? They're not winning pretty. They're barely winning, barely beating teams, but at the end of the day, they're winning. It's about winning. Am I optimistic? You're damn right I'm optimistic. This is a good team. Nobody is playing as well as this team. And this Facebook user is going to be the same guy come Sunday night when the Dallas Cowboys lose that's going to say, hey, man, well, the reason you lost is because of this or because of that. And, Dallas ain't really a good team. They're in the NFL East. Bull crap. The games you are presented, it's your job to win. Right now, the Carolina Panthers are not 3-0 because they played any bad teams. They are 3-0 because they beat those teams. And that's what you have to do, folks. You have to win the games that are presented to you on your schedule by the NFL. But to get back to CHUBA Hubbard and Royce Freeman, I think you'll see them do fine. They'll mix it up, but I think the one thing different that the Panthers have to do here, folks, and for those of you that understand football, you probably understand what I'm saying. A lot of the times you get these teams in there and they try to establish the run right away so they can go ahead and push those defensive backs in a little bit more, and then it opens up the passing game. I believe in order to beat Dallas, you're going to have to twist that around and do it backwards. I believe Sam Darnold needs to come out passing, throwing a couple screens to the backs, going ahead, and then throwing the ball across the middle to a Moore, a Marshall, a Tommy Tremble, establishing the pass, push those DBs and linebackers back a little bit. And what that's going to do, it comes down to the offensive line being able to open up these holes for these runners, and they will start pounding the rock and gaining some yardage. So, that's what they need to do there. We are about 5 minutes away from having Bill Jones on with us, from the studio host and play-by-play for the Dallas Cowboys. The other thing, key, is they have to eliminate big plays. When they do sustain, and if they do sustain this running game, they can't allow big plays to CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb's having a great year. Amari Cooper's having a great year. But once again, okay, Dak's been playing teams where he's been able to actually throw the ball out at will. And I'm going to tell you, and I said this early in the season, people say, well, Larry, he threw for what, 400 yards versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay defense, if you watch them over the years, they give up a lot of yardage, okay? Even though they win, they have this way of giving up a lot of passing yardage to opposing quarterbacks, some good, some unknown of. If you look at Heineke of Washington last year in the playoffs, they probably had one of the better playoff games of all those great quarterbacks that they played. This team, those teams he played gave up. I want to see how he handles adversity this week when he isn't as successful, when he's not playing the Eagles. I want to see how he does versus this unbelievable Carolina Panther defense. And then, of course, like any game, folks, you have to win the turnover battle. You can't make mistakes. Sam Darnold needs to do what Sam Darnold's been doing the entire year, pretty much playing mistake-free football. I'll tell you what, he's been so accurate. His arm looks really good to strengthen the ball when he throws it. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Darnold throws for another 300 yards like he's been doing all year versus this defense of the Dallas Cowboys. They got some good names on this defense, and Anthony Brown, Trevon Diggs is unbelievable. Jaron Casey, Michael Parsons. They got names on the defense, but for some reason, this defense struggles. It doesn't do a great job defending the pass, and they have lots and lots of trouble. So, if Sam Darnold is on, he could have a field day versus this defense, just like Tom Brady did in game one. So I would not be surprised, but you can't make mistakes. You can't turn over the ball. And they got to win the turnover battle. They got to force a couple of fumbles. They got to intercept a couple of footballs. But at the end of the day, they can't make mistakes, and they can't take stupid penalties. Those stupid penalties, those illegal procedures, those lined up in the secondary, lined up in the neutral zone, all those penalties have to stop. We have to take care of that this week before we even get to Dallas. And then the one thing, excuse me, folks, you got to remember this entire year, we mentioned it at the earlier of the show, the Panthers have not trailed. So what I would say is, when you go into an opposing team, you're away, you need to go ahead and you need to grab a lead, okay? And I'm not just talking a 3-0 lead. I talk about field goals versus touchdowns. And one of the things you got to do to beat a team like Dallas is you can't expect to get 3, because they very quickly can come down and get 7. When you're in that red zone, you have to get 7 points. 7 points is going to be the key. It can't be a field goal game, especially with both these field goal kickers not being the most accurate. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick 15-second station break, and when we come back, we're going to have Bill Jones, sports anchor from CBS 11 in Dallas, and also the Dallas Cowboys play-by-play and studio host. So let's go ahead and take 15 seconds to allow our stations to identify themselves. You are listening to Frankly Speaking Panthers on Tobacco Road Sports Radio.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Frankly Speaking Panthers. I'm your host, Larry Franken. You know, we went ahead, we broke down this game for you. We broke down some keys. We broke down, strengths of each team, some weaknesses of each team. And now it is my great honor, thrill, and pleasure to introduce to you from CBS 11 in Dallas, Fort Worth, the sports anchor and the Dallas Cowboys play-by-play broadcaster and studio host. Let's welcome in Bill Jones. Bill, how you doing today?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. First of all, I want to thank you very, very much for taking your time out of your busy schedule to join us on Frankly Speaking Panthers. Let me ask you this, Bill. Well, fourth week of the season, when you looked at the schedule before the beginning of the year and you saw game 4, the Carolina Panthers versus the Dallas Cowboys, did you ever think that this game would turn out to be, an early season big game?
Not when I first looked at the schedule, no. We were in Dallas. We were so focused on that first game against Tampa Bay, it was hard to get past that one. And of course, they started with the first 2 games on the road, playing at the Chargers the second game, and so we didn't look much deeper than that. But to your point, I don't know, and the fact that it's a noon Dallas time kickoff tells you a lot about what a lot of people thought about this matchup. The Cowboys have played the Thursday night opener, and then they played a 3:25 game on CBS, which was the national game, and then the Monday night game, and they came home, to play the Eagles on Monday night, and they're accustomed to the Sunday night windows too. They don't play very many the early slot games on Sundays, and so that tells you a lot about what a lot of people thought about this matchup coming in. But the Panthers off to that 3-0 start. You got to give Matt Rule and crew a whole lot of credit for getting out of the chute like they have.
Yeah, let me ask you, when a team comes off a Monday night game like Dallas just did, they lose a day. I mean, they basically lose a day. Does it really have an effect on a team that much, missing that one day?
I don't know that it does once you get to Sunday. It has an effect on the team's preparation here in the last couple of days after Monday night. In fact, I just got back to the TV station after hosting the Mike McCarthy show out at the Star in Frisco earlier this evening. And so I was out there throughout the afternoon. And, typically, and I know the Panthers probably had a regular practice today, especially since they played on Thursday night last week. The Cowboys, it was a very light day. They were out on the practice field just they had a walkthrough in the morning, and then they were briefly out on the field in the afternoon, just in shorts and not even shells on. And so that is quite different than a normal work week. But they're getting all the mental reps in today, and then they'll have a normal practice like a Wednesday practice tomorrow as they install their game plan and so forth. So it's the early part of the week coming off, kind of recovering from the Monday night game is the big difference for the team. But I think as far as once they get to Sunday, I don't think that they missed that day. It's basically they didn't get their regular day off this week. They got it back on Sunday prior to playing on Monday, really.
Right. We're talking to Bill Jones, sports anchor for CBS 11 out of Dallas and Dallas Cowboys Television play-by-play and studio host. Bill, when you look at this division that the Dallas Cowboys are in, I called the Cowboys. I believe it was not too long ago. I was talking to Jeff Kavanaugh down there that does radio, and I said, the team in the NFL that probably is, a lot of people consider the Detroit Lions the biggest underachievers in the NFL. But when I look at it, I have to say lately it's been the Dallas Cowboys, because when you look on paper now, of course, take, for example, Dak got hurt last year. But other than that, here's a team that's supposed to win that division year after year. You look on paper, they got great athletes, and they always find a way to somehow figure out how to lose rather than figure out how to win. What is the mindset this year? They lost to Tampa Bay on a tough game on the first game of the season. I mean, what's the mindset of the team? Now they've won 2 in a row, but it's no surprise to you or me. This is a team that should win that division.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the way the division lays out now, especially 3 games in, and the Cowboys coming off their game on Monday night, the way they dominated the Eagles, both sides of the ball, you'd have to think that. I think, and I agree with you. I mean, it's 25 years since the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, and it's been one thing or another, whether it's underachieving. And I think even Jerry Jones would agree that they've underachieved for 25 years. Now, there were obviously some years in there they didn't have the personnel to do it, but there's been a lot of years where they did have the personnel and they choked in one form or fashion. And then you have your injury years too that every team has over the course of 25 years. But I think one of the big things about this particular Cowboys team, starting with the quarterback, is there is a level of confidence that Dak Prescott goes about life that is remarkable. And, when he goes up to Tom Brady after that 31-29 loss in the opener and says, we'll see you again. He meant we'll see you again in the playoffs. And he was unwavering after the game. They were upset they didn't win that game, but it actually, I think, gave them a boost of confidence that what they saw in training camp and in this offseason was real, that they can play with the best teams in the league and have a chance, assuming that they stay relatively injury-free. And I think we've seen it over the course of the last couple of weeks. One of the most impressive things about Monday night, I thought, is the play of young guys on that defense that really have that same kind of mindset that Prescott has. When Micah Parsons goes out on a football field, he believes he's going to win and Trayvon Diggs is the same way. He's got that same attitude, and Diggs is playing with such a confidence level for a second-year player. It's pretty unreal. But maybe that's a difference with this team. I mean, you recall those Cowboys teams from the 90s, they had a swagger about them, starting with Michael Irvin and so many other players on that team. And I see it with some of the players on this team now.
Yeah, talk about the return of Dak Prescott. Looked excellent versus the Buccaneers. Looked excellent, like you just said, on Monday night. But the thing I noticed about Dak, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, that's different about him than in the past is, okay, you always knew he had the potential. You always knew he had the ability and the skills. But it looks like since he's been back after his injury that he has a mature, and I call it quarterback maturity. He has a maturity about him that I did not see before. It's almost like in that amount of time that he was out not playing football, that he grew up a little bit, and it just seems like the whole maturity of him playing that position has changed.
Yeah, I see it. The other thing is he's got such a command of this offense. He's always had a commanding presence, even when he walked in the door for the first time in 2016 as a 4th-round draft pick. He fully believed, even though he was a team guy, that if he was going into that training camp, we thought he was actually 4th on the depth chart behind a guy named Jamil Showers, who is an undrafted quarterback out of UTEP. They had Dak Prescott, Kellen Moore, Jamil Showers, and Dak, the 4th-round pick. Dak actually believed, and he, even in practice, he didn't look very good in practice, but once he he was a gamer. You saw that in his first preseason game against the Rams that year. And then, of course, Romo went down with the injury, and the rest is history. It's basically a Rookie of the Year season in 2016. The team goes 13-3. But I think what you see coming out off this injury last year is he clearly has spent a ton of time. I think it's more of a focus on exactly what his role needs to be in this offense as far as learning. And sometimes when, he hadn't missed a game in his entire career. And sometimes when you can take a step back over, like he did over the last 10 games of last season, and really see the big picture, maybe that has helped him become more in command of what he's in charge of when he's actually playing. I don't know. It's just a theory out there. But there is a maturity about him. There's a confidence. There's a command about him. And just from a technical standpoint, just being more accurate as a passer, he has improved so much since his rookie year, and that speaks a lot to his work ethic. His work ethic is second to none. He doesn't live far from the practice facility. He's there year round, and it really shows. And so, those are some of the reasons why you're seeing what you're seeing out of him now.
Yeah, and, let's talk about, first of all, this Carolina defense, first 3 game has just been lights out. First in the NFL, they got 14 sacks. But another impressive statistic about this Panther team is they are only allowing 45 yards rushing per game. When you look at the Dallas Cowboys last couple of games, their strength has been Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, I think, averaging combined over 160 yards average per those 2 games. 2 questions for you. First of all, how is Zeke handling splitting the reps with Pollard? And then part 2, what do they have to do in order to get going versus this unbelievable Carolina defense?
Well, your first question, Zeke has handled it very well. Zeke is really, and I don't know what the national perception is about him, but he's always been a great locker room guy. He's always been a team first guy. Yeah, he's had his incidents and so forth, but it's never been a me first type attitude that Zeke has had, probably going back to his college days at Ohio State. And I think what has helped him is the fact that he came into the league alongside Dak. And Dak was mature beyond his years coming into the league. And Zeke had more of an immature quality about him coming into the league, and has kind of shown it at times throughout his time here. But I think that he has no problem. In fact, he kind of took Tony Pollard under his wing as sort of his little brother, and I think he understands that actually splitting carries with Tony Pollard can be something that benefits Zeke long term. He can have a longer career by taking some of the wear and tear off. Let's face it, he is not, and no running back today is going to get enough carries in their career to ever be the leading rusher in the NFL. Emmett's record is safe. And so from Zeke's perspective, it's what can I do to be on a championship team? And if this is what helps us be make us a championship team, then he's all for it. And he's getting plenty of reps himself. Even last week against the Chargers, I don't remember exactly what his touches were, but they were in the upper teens, 18 or 19. And I think Pollard has that outside speed. He's got that burst, but Zeke's got a real toughness running between the tackles that I don't know that a lot of people like. I think it was this last game. One of the announcers said that he's clearly not the running back he was in 2016. I'm going to hold out my thought on that. Last year he was not the running back he was in 2016, but he reported in terrific shape this year. And let's reserve judgment on exactly. He may have recaptured some of that burst that he had back then. He certainly has it attitude-wise. And your second question again?
The second question was, how are they going to – what type of game plan are they going to have to use to get this running game going versus Carolina?
Now, I've just watched a little bit of Carolina myself, but I know they're a fast flight of the football defense. And I think what the Cowboys, and I was trying to get at that a little bit with Mike McCarthy today, whether it's does it matter so much what style of defense that Carolina runs, or is this a matter of you establishing your offense to where they do what they want to do regardless of who they're facing? And that would mean having the ability to run the football. But I think a lot of it has to do with personnel. They didn't run the football against Tampa Bay because nobody runs the football against Tampa Bay with those two guys they have in the middle with Sue and Vita Vea. And what the Cowboys have up the middle, too. Tyler Biadasz, the center, you saw it in the game the other night. He got manhandled a little bit. Connor Williams had a couple of holding calls, or maybe had 3 holding calls. There's Zach Martin obviously is a future Hall of Famer at right guard, but the weak link, so to speak, are the left guard and the center. When you go up, and maybe Derek Brown is that type player now, even though it's early in his career, with Daquan Jones in there as well, maybe they can stop the run. But I think that they will test whether or not Carolina can stop the run, because we know they're flying around the flanks trying to get to Dak.
Yeah, and you talk about what happens if Carolina, like I said, an unbelievable rushing defense. Well, when you flip it around, they also have an unbelievable passing defense, only allowing like 160 yards through the air. They got 14 sacks, so many hurries this year. Should it go one-dimensional, let's say, and Dak has to throw the ball, which, he may have to a lot this game, is it in the favor of the Carolina Panthers? Because, the way they attack and blitz and get people on the quarterback is just incredible. Can that Dallas offensive line, you just hit on it a little bit with some of the mistakes they made the other night, you think they can control that defensive line of the Carolina Panthers?
Well, that's going to be interesting. The Cowboys are starting a second-year undrafted guy at right tackle, and Terrence Steele. He has shown, because Lyle Collins is serving a 5-game suspension right now, he has shown in the last 2 games that he is much improved over last year. He started 14 games as an undrafted guy last year at right tackle. Now he's going to be tested against Reddick and Burns, whoever they're going to line up over him on the right side. Tyron Smith's playing well at left tackle. He's back healthy again. So the Cowboys feel pretty good about that matchup. But the other thing the Cowboys have offensively is Kellen Moore is in a groove right now calling plays. And, they threw the ball 58 times against Tampa Bay and scored 29 points in that game, and left some points on the board because of the kicker. Left some points off the board because of the kicker. But Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin at tight end have been a pretty good when they go to a 2 tight end set, they can throw out of that. And now they're missing Michael Gallup again this week. And Amari Cooper has a rib injury that has kept him in check a little bit here the last couple of weeks. But obviously CeeDee Lamb is playing at a very high level.
Yes.
And at times they've used Zeke and Pollard on the field at the same time. Both can catch the ball. Pollard, you can line up in the slot, and he can, he had some wide receiver in his background at Memphis as well. And so they have so many weapons that, and they figured out a way to get the ball out quickly. Against Tampa Bay, they were able to do that and keep Dak relatively unscathed in that game with the guys that they have to be able to rush the passer. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Carolina is able. The key, and it gets back to last week against Philadelphia, the key was they got ahead of Philadelphia. And that was the key. You go back to Dak's rookie year in 2016, virtually every game that season, they had 75-yard touchdown drives to start games. And so they played from ahead in games and were able to mix the run and the pass. But to your point, if they get behind, and they have to throw the football, then Carolina can pin their ears back and it can be a different story.
Yeah, so we're talking to Bill Jones, sports anchor for CBS 11 out of Dallas. Bill, you mentioned that, and it's amazing because the Carolina Panthers this year, I don't know if you knew this, have not trailed once throughout the whole season. from the start of the season when they scored versus the Jets, they have led all the way through, which goes to your question, how important it is to get a lead in this league. But I want to ask you, when I look at this defense on Dallas, I see some great potential. I mean, you got Anthony Brown, Trevon Diggs, I can't say enough. One of my favorite players already out there. You got Kersey, you mentioned Parsons, but the one thing I don't understand, and maybe you can enlighten me with it, is two of the strengths of the Carolina Panthers have been third down conversion, and of course, what can we say about the emergence of Sam Darnold? But it seems like the Dallas Cowboys, 40% of the times, their defense gives up third down conversions, and they give up a lot of passing yards. And it's weird because I used to say that about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers find a way to win, but the quarterback, I don't care if it's Dak Prescott or Heineke from Washington, they get a lot of yards passing. What is it about that defense? And potentially without Christian McCaffrey playing this weekend and then going to CHUBA Hubbard, could this play in the favor of Sam Darnold since that defense is known to give up a lot of yardage?
I think one of the things we need to look at when we're looking with only a small sample size with 3 games played so far is who the Cowboys have. And they faced Brady the first week and Justin Herbert the second week. And so obviously they're going to pass for a lot of yards. And then this week they got ahead of Philadelphia. You know how many times Philadelphia's running backs carried the football against Dallas?
No, I don't know what's about. 4 times?
3 carries.
Wow.
3
okay,
carries.
I knew it was very few, but I didn't.
And so what happened in that game, you know, Jalen Hurts threw a couple of picks, one of them a pick 6, and then they were throwing on every down. And it was, you know, a 20-point lead for the Cowboys at that point in the game, and he's racking up. And so that's one of my pet peeves about the NFL stats is we figure the top or the worst passing defenses, it's all based on total yards. Like they got the number 32 or 31 pass defense in the league, and it's all based on total yards. Well, they had a 20-point lead in the game, and the other quarterback is throwing it 20 times, you know? And so, but that's not to say the Cowboys do have weaknesses. But there were some guys that were running free, tight ends running free, that were bust in the Cowboys secondary that obviously have to get corrected. Fortunately for the Cowboys, they happened when they had a 14 to 20-point lead in the game. But you know, one of the things defensively, they playing, you know, last week they were playing without DeMarcus Lawrence. The week before they were playing without Lawrence and Randy Gregory. And so Micah Parsons had to play defensive end, and he'll probably play defensive end again this week because Lawrence is still out. You know, they have the ability of getting pressure on the quarterback if they can get them in obvious pass situations. And so it's the key, I think, for Carolina and their terrific third down percentage is they're staying ahead of the chains. And clearly Darnold's doing a good job. You know, the one thing that McCarthy voiced in my interview with him this evening that is a concern is Darnold's ability to not only run, you know, he's with the zone read, but also his ability to throw on the move, and that's something that they are concerned about coming in.
And actually, you just led into my exact next question, Bill. With, you know, this is a team that has a lot of weapons on it. They got DJ Moore's having a great year. Everybody knows about the deep ball with Robbie Anderson. They got Marshall. They got Tremble, who's emerging at tight end. How does this defense stop that passing game of Sam Darnold?
Well, I mean, it starts with being able to get pressure on him. And, you know, Diggs is emerging as a really good cornerback. Anthony Brown is in an ideal situation. The Cowboys' second-round draft pick, their rookie, Kelvin Joseph, would be the starter at cornerback. He suffered an injury in the preseason. He's on IR right now. So for that, now they've gone with the veteran Anthony Brown. they've been able to use Keanu Neal was out last week with COVID. He's been playing a linebacker, and so he's been covering the tight end a lot. You've seen Jaron Kearse, who's been able to do a good job getting a lot of snaps on defense. What Dan Quinn's doing on his defense is he puts a lot of DBs on the field, and I think that the Cowboys have a healthy respect for DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and Terrace Marshall, for that matter, the rookie, and also they've the bread and butter of that offense, if McCaffery is healthy, is being able to throw the football to the back coming out of the backfield. We'll see what CHUBA Hubbard's got in as far as that goes, replacing McCaffery. But I think that's one of the reasons that this offense is a real good one for Darnold, is because he's got a lot of options, and it's helpful for a quarterback. And obviously, Joe Brady has very quickly become a name first at the college level and now in the NFL as far as his ability to put a scheme together offensively to help the quarterback out, a quarterback-friendly offense. And so, it's going to be a challenge for the Cowboys. And I think what helps the Cowboys is the fact that the Panthers have gotten their attention with a 3-0 start. Otherwise it could be a trap game where in between playing a division rival, the Eagles, and even though the Giants are not a good team, the following week the Cowboys play the Giants. And, that's probably one of the reasons why at the outset we talked about, well, this isn't a game that was circled to begin the season. Well, now It's circled once Carolina starts 3-0.
Yep, a couple more questions. We'll let you run, Bill. On that topic, and, seems like it's getting a lot of media coverage, like you just mentioned, a game that really didn't seem that big before the season started. But let me ask you this. Is this a bigger game for Dallas or a bigger game for Carolina?
I would say because of we're looking at the big picture here, because of the makeup of the NFC East, it's a bigger game for the Carolina Panthers. I also think when you look at the schedule and who the Panthers have played so far and who the Cowboys have played so far, if Carolina can come in and beat Dallas on the road, that can really set them up where they can, I think, could challenge Tampa Bay throughout the season. Now, we're so early, and they've got the injuries that they have to overcome with McCaffery and Horn going down and Burris and so forth. But I think it can be a really big game for Carolina as far as being able to show people that we are, because of Dallas. I think Dallas has gained a lot of respect from the league by the way they've started this season, by playing Tampa Bay off their feet, going on the road and winning at the Chargers, and then a dominating performance against the Eagles. It's almost like the Cowboys have elevated themselves to where, if Carolina goes in there and win, they're going to open up some eyes. And so from that standpoint, I think it's a bigger game for Carolina. But having said that, anyone in Dallas will tell you it's a bigger game for Dallas because the Cowboys need to get on a roll to start this season. And when you look at the Cowboys' schedule, the second half of the year, it gets a lot tougher in November. They've got a stretch of 4 out of 5 games on the road against what appears to be quality opponents. This is where a 6-game stretch before their bye, where if they can start 5-1 and get a lead, then it can be the start of something special. And that's why they don't want to have any hiccups along the way.
All right, Bill, prediction on the game.
What are you going with?
I'm telling you what, I just hope it doesn't come down to a field goal for either of these games because I think, I think this defense is incredible. I've watched it play, and I think it's going to be a tough game. But I'm picking 2017 the Panthers.
Okay. All right. Well, how about this? I'll go 20-17 Dallas.
All right.
How about
that sounds good. That sounds good. At least we both think that, it's going to be a close game. And at the end of the day, like you said, it's early in the season. Both teams, looking for a big win, and it could really drive one of these teams.
I really think that what's going to hurt the Panthers, obviously, is not having McCaffery, but also the loss of J.C. Horn there. And this will test the mettle of that Carolina team, losing those type players. Now, they had extra time, obviously, to recover from it, from a mental standpoint and so forth, with the playing the Thursday game last week.
Right.
And if McCaffrey were healthy, if Horn's healthy, I'd probably pick Carolina to win this game. But I think the Cowboys just seem to be on a little bit of a roll here, confidence-wise, where I think there may be a carryover effect for Monday.
Well, soon enough, we will find out, my friend.
We will.
But listen, Bill, I want to thank you very, very much for taking time out of your schedule to join us on Frankly Speaking Panthers.
All right. Appreciate it. Great to meet you.
You too, Bill. Be safe.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. That was Bill Jones, sports anchor for CBS 11 out of Dallas. So what a great, great interview. A lot of good insights. Let's go ahead. First of all, for those of you folks, let's get this. I want to make sure I mention this. If you're looking for a group that you can go ahead, be part of, stay positive about the Carolina Panthers, boy, do we have a group for you. It's on Facebook. It's called the Carolina Panthers Den. You go to Facebook, you type in Carolina Panthers Den, and join their group. They're always positive. They're friendly. They do great things and talk great about the Carolina Panthers. None of this BS where people are being negative, talking bad about the team. It's a first-class group that has lots and lots of membership. And if you want to keep up on the Carolina Panthers, join the Carolina Panthers Den group on Facebook. We're going to take a 15-second station break, allow our stations to identify themselves. You are listening to Frankly Speaking Panthers on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. What a great, great show so far. We're going to open up the phone lines here right now. Let's go ahead and, if we can post that number, please, so that we can allow our fans. If you want to talk some Carolina football, we got a couple of minutes left in the show. Going to keep the phone lines open. Tell us what you like about this team, why you think they'll win this Sunday, and what do you think they need to do to be successful. You can call us at 813-922-9810. That's 813-922-9810. We'll have the phone lines open for a couple of minutes. If you're on the show, go ahead. Call in, leave a message right under the comment section. We'll try to get to your question before we wrap it up. We want to thank everybody on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitch, and also Tobacco Road Sports Radio, all for listening today. Just several of the different platforms that we are on. We've been talking about the big, big game coming up this Sunday between the Dallas Cowboys and the Carolina Panthers. And as Bill mentioned, here was a game that didn't mean much at the beginning of the season when you looked at the schedule, especially before the season started. And now you look at it and you're like, this could be a very big game. I don't like saying anything gets easier the rest of the way, but if you look at the Carolina Panthers, should or when they win this game on Sunday, it's a very favorable schedule for them the next 6 weeks. So very, very scary for the rest of the NFC if the Carolina Panthers should go into Dallas and prevail. So we're going to do this. All right. But that should be a big game. Right now, Carolina is 3-0 atop the NFC South, a game ahead of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have lost versus the Rams last week. So it should be a great, great game. Should be a lot of fun. For those of you folks that continue to join us here on all our Frankly Speaking sports shows, we want to thank you very much. We also want to thank Bill Jones, sports anchor for CBS 11 out of Dallas, and the Dallas Cowboys Television play-by-play and studio host for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to stand up. You need to get loud. This team is a good team, okay? And we are going to prevail this weekend in Dallas. So remember, stand up, get loud. We'll see you on another episode of Frankly Speaking Sports this Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Good night.